Welcome to my sandbox. Yesterday, I started something brand new where I invited you to walk with me. And my intent was to take this walk and talk with you as a continuation of a show that I host for the Entree Architect Network called Java with Jeff. And really kind of continue that conversation, continue those thoughts, which would mean that I'd be walking around 9:30 a.m. Eastern. And hey, it's the holiday week, and things are getting rearranged, so I won't have the ability to do that today. So we're walking, um, actually a little later than I would normally. Normally, I would in my old schedule, quote unquote, I would leave around 6 or so. It's 7 Eastern now. It's raining. Obviously, it's still dark, although right now it's only dark. Should be sunrise right now. It's dark because it's cloudy. It's not raining too hard, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, walk with me. Morning, Mark. My dear. Happy Tuesday. Happy rainy Tuesday. Um, so what I'm thinking about talking about on Java with Jeff this morning is this post I found here on Substack, actually, by Paul Lewis. I don't know who Paul Lewis is. It just came up in the feed, but Paul was talking about how we're good at rumination. Our mind can create these endless loops. And you know the difference between rumination and reflection, right? Rumination, rumination is essentially kind of stuck. Our thoughts take us back to some point. It's usually not a good point, right? It's um, usually something we're mulling over, right? We talk about this as a weird visual, I understand, but our mind goes back and go over and over and over and over again on these thoughts, like I said, usually negative, that kind of keep us stuck in a place. All right, let's watch this car, make sure we don't get run over. Keep us stuck in this place, and we often have trouble getting out of that place. It's this and this and this and this and this. We keep making up these scenarios, the would have, could have, should have, and we keep going, keep grinding on it, keep grinding on it, keep grinding on it. Versus reflection, where we can look back at that. We can see where we were headed, what happened, obstacles that we faced, and we can say, okay, I see it. Now, what am I going to do with that? How am I going to move forward? And so I read this post yesterday, actually. So um, my girlfriend, Carolyn, is a therapist, and we were talking about this post yesterday. She had some disagreement with the post because it goes on to talk about the fact that there's this rumination, there's this getting stuck, and at some point we need to ask ourselves, does this thought serve me anymore? This rumination, whatever it is that we're stuck on, does it serve me anymore? Is this something I should let go of and move forward? And Carolyn's point was that every thought has value. I thought maybe we'd talk about that a little bit. So yesterday when I was walking, I noticed all the flags. They were, in fact, markers for trees. You can't see this. I know it's completely dark, but I'll bet there are 100 trees laid out to be planted today, which is fantastic. We had one of those straight line windstorms come through. It's been several years now. but we lost, I think it was 40 trees in this park. So anyway, whatever that's worth. But so Carolyn's point was that she thinks every thought has value. And I said, okay, well, I get that, right? But if we're ruminating over, so it's a it's a thought that has us stuck, right? And we ask ourselves, does this have value anymore? Isn't it then? Isn't the real value in the thought about the thought? Right. And so we get into this discussion about that, and um, she's I don't, and of course I have no legs to stand on here. She's a trained professional. She has a professional degree, um, and I'm not in that field. So I don't have any legs to stand on to disagree with her on that. But what it the conversation coming down to the fact that sure, every thought has value as long as we're using it, as long as we're doing something with it. Her one of her points was, well, every thought reveals something about you. Yes, yeah, absolutely. And then what? Right, what's next? Do we get stuck there, or do we keep moving forward? And I've heard this more than once from my own therapist. In fact, because I'm pretty good at overanalyzing things, overthinking things. Maybe you are too. And more than once, my therapist has asked, "So, what if what if you stop trying to figure out why, and instead started to think about how to move forward?" And those are those are sort of the tough love sessions, maybe. But I think that's a really important point for all of us. What if we not that we want to ignore our thoughts, not at all. I mean, there are days when I have come over to this park and sat here on a bench in the rain to sit with my own thoughts and sit with my own feelings. I mean, maybe you can see some of these trees looking out in the rain. Bunch of you are apparently going to realize it's really dark out here, but so that is, that makes my heart go. There's got to be 100 trees that people are going to plant. That's good. I don't know about the timing. Is the end of November a good time? End of November in Indianapolis a good time to plant trees? We've already had 2 inches of snow, but I don't know. Also, not my profession. Where was I? But the ability to take our thoughts and understand where they come from, what they're about. I think that, especially the ones that we're ruminating on, I think they're rarely about um, what we think they're about, at first blush. But so where is this thought? Where did it come from? What is it about? Oh, hello. This is my new friend. Free in a burlap bag. What's the noise? Non-deciduous tree of singing. Um, what's it about? Where'd this thought come from? And now what do I do with it? How do I move forward from here? There's so many people that are stuck. I mean, it's doom scrolling. Maybe doom scrolling is sort of an example, right? It's sort of a manifestation, yeah, technology induced manifestation of rumination. And I've been guilty of that a lot lately. all the stuff in the news, all the things that are going on around us, whether it touches you personally or not. Hey, Chris, glad you joined us in the gym today. Um, and just getting stuck in that endless loop. There's no way we can grow, right? If we're stuck in that loop, there's no way. It's the opposite of moving forward. So there's an interesting post, and I posted it earlier here on my Substack a few minutes ago before I left. Again, Paul Lewis. I don't have any idea who he is. I just thought it was a good post. At what point, and this also pops up in yoga classes all the time. And I talk about this all the time. You walk into the studio and you have to leave the things at the door that don't serve you. And so, I'm going into this yoga studio to be mindful, to be physical, you know, all the things of yoga. So what is it that I'm carrying right now? What is, the to-do list, the being mad at my boss, the whatever? What are the things that don't serve me that I need to leave here at the door? And then when I get on my mat, what are the thoughts that are bouncing around in my head that don't serve me? Whether in this hour of the yoga class or at all. I mean, how much of what we have rattling around in our brains is actually serving us productively? What's helping us grow, and how much of it is just taking up the space, taking up the room that we could otherwise have available for growth? And as Carolyn and I were talking about it yesterday, it reminded me, one of my first uh, introductions, first time I'd ever meditated, first time I'd been really introduced to meditation was I was speaking at a conference as the keynote speaker or whatever at a conference, and they had this guy, and I didn't know this until you know fairly late in the process. Said, well, we got this guy that's going to come on before you. He's going to kind of be the opener. Oh, that's weird. Never had an opening band before. Be cool. And this guy's name is Panda Dasa. Who in the world is Panda Dasa? He's got a book called The Urban Monk. Got several other books. I've had the opportunity now to talk with him a few times. He was on Context and Clarity Live at one point, but Panda Dasa took the entire audience through a guided meditation. Never done that before. You have the opportunity, just open up Insight Timer. It's an app. There's plenty of live guided meditations there. Other places you find it, find guided meditations, but Panda Dasa walks us through guided meditations. And then, they gave him a few minutes to, glad they did. He starts talking about, it's related to one of his books, the title of which I can't remember off the top of my head. But he starts talking about the fact that all the stuff that's going on, the things, what we're hanging on to mentally, right? All the mental things. They're like apps that are open on your phone or your tablet or whatever. They're apps that are open on your back, right down my back. Uh, um, or they're like tabs that are open on our desktop, laptop. And we know, right? We know that the more of those things that we have open, the more it deteriorates the performance of our device. Talked about the things that we're hanging on to from the past. We could have, would have, should have. could have done this, should have done this, would have done this if, those types of things. And all of those things, every single one of those thoughts is something we don't have control over. It's gone, right? Why ruminate on that? But we do. We hang on to it. There's a point in time where I would cut my grass. I got this tiny little yard in this little urban neighborhood that I live in. And so it takes like 20 minutes to cut my grass. But I would cut my grass and I'd spend the whole time replaying, doing the coulda, shoulda, woulda. That is absolutely lots and lots of different topics, but that's what I would do. It would be this time of rumination and frankly, some of it anger. They did this or I should have done this, whatever. And here's Panda Dasa saying you need to close those tabs. You need to close those apps. You don't have any control over them. They've happened, they're past. There's nothing to do. They're gone. You learn from them, certainly, but you can learn to. Don't give them control. And then in the other direction, the things that we think are going to happen, things in the future. The things that we're worried about, things that we're making up in our minds. Sometimes there's owls right here. I think it's fair weather owls. Kind of suck you out. But the things that we're making up, what if this happens? That's how I get really worried. I start getting really worked up and thinking about all the things that might happen. Write them all down. Write down all those thoughts. So I think this is going to happen. I'm worried about this. All that. Write them down in your journal. And then go back to them a day later, a week later, a month later, so that you can realize that almost none of it happened. Right? Almost none of it came through. We're really good at making up worst case scenarios. And so, Panda said, hey, you don't have control over any of that either. You can plan, you can strategize, you can have goals, all those things, but you don't have any control over those things. You can set yourself up, you can, create systems and all that, but you don't have any control over these outcomes. So you need to close those tabs. And that was me. I don't even remember the date of that. I have to look it up, but that was a big turning point for me. It's one of those aha moments to hear somebody explain in that way, right? And we came from his book. Again, Panda Dasa came from his book. I can't remember the title, but it's treating your mind like your device and closing all of the open tabs. And of course, then that comes back to presence. Are you being present? Are you focusing on what is here and now? Different route than yesterday. So back to this post by Paul Lewis. I believe, and it's Carolyn and my disagreement over this. You may think differently as a trained and experienced professional. She may not agree with this, but I really think that our disagreement over this topic, which is very, very minor, one, we're either splitting hairs or we're stuck on semantics. So, I think that's the level. But I believe that there are thoughts that don't serve us. Yes, they absolutely can and should tell us something about ourselves. We absolutely should take time to sit with those thoughts and reflect on those thoughts, understand them, and then let them go. because they don't serve us anymore, because we need that room. There are some days where it is absolutely not lost on me where I am age-wise, health-wise, whatever. But I am not 20 years old anymore. As healthy as I feel like I am, as I don't say, well, there's a sidewalk here. As sharp as I think my mind is, I'm not. I'm not 20. I think things change as we age. And it becomes more and more crucial that we gather the resources and utilize the resources necessary to grow. I started to pay attention to. I'm gonna try Tai Chi, and so I was watching the video, like an instructional video the other day. It's fascinating. And the instructor was talking about 4 basic moves of Tai Chi, and he talks about them in terms of energy. It's a place to get run over. He talks about it in terms of energy, and so one move, like you're pushing out, it's spreading, and you're like pulling your arms back in, and it's gathering. So you're spreading energy, you're gathering energy. And then you float up, and then you sink down. That's 4 moves. But I said that I was going to talk about Tai Chi. I think we need to have a firm, active understanding that we have to create space. And that's what it was, like the spreading of the energy in a physical manifestation. Tai Chi is literally opening up. It's opening up space around you, room around you. And if you think about what that does to you physically, when you do that, you open up like that, it opens up the chest cavity, room for your lungs to expand and fill. And maybe that's a physical manifestation. Maybe it's a good metaphor for what we need in order to grow. All right. Thanks for walking with me. And made it over to the coffee shop. Now, no offense to people who go through drive-throughs at coffee shops, but once you get your coffee, you need to look up. There's a lot of people rolling. You have no idea what's going on around them. Anyway, there's my commentary. All right. For those of you that will join me on Java with Jeff, I'll see you in about an hour or so. Have a great day. Again, this is a holiday week. A lot of things are starting to get rearranged and whatnot. So we'll see how this goes this week. Thanks for walking with me. See you, all.